The story of human history is filled with astonishing discoveries that continue to surprise and challenge our understanding. These revelations range from extraordinary artifacts to mysterious structures, each carrying fragments of knowledge from civilizations long gone. The intrigue lies in the balance between what we know and what remains hidden, between concrete evidence and the mysteries that inspire imagination. Each discovery tells a story, not only of the people who created it, but also of the curiosity and ingenuity that drive humans to explore, understand, and shape their world. From intricately carved objects to ancient texts, these findings highlight a level of skill and thought that can seem almost impossible for their time. They invite reflection on human creativity and resilience, as well as the gaps in our understanding. Sometimes the objects themselves are simple, yet their context, purpose, or design raises profound questions about technology, culture, and human potential. Other times, discoveries challenge the very foundations of accepted history, hinting at lost knowledge or forgotten civilizations. What makes these discoveries compelling is not only their rarity or complexity, but also the stories they imply. A single artifact can suggest trade networks, spiritual practices, or technological achievements far beyond what is traditionally recognized. The contrast between the familiar and the enigmatic, between evidence and imagination, draws us into a reflective space. In this space, we begin to appreciate the vastness of human history, not merely as a timeline of events, but as a living, breathing tapestry of creativity, mystery, and exploration that continues to unfold as we uncover its secrets. Some of the most extraordinary discoveries emerge from objects that seem ordinary at first glance, but reveal profound complexity under closer inspection. These artifacts, tools, and relics challenge our assumptions about human ingenuity and the limits of ancient knowledge. Whether crafted from stone, metal, or other materials, they hint at technologies, skills, and cultural practices far ahead of their time, inviting contemplation and wonder. Many such objects are preserved in contexts that enhance their mystery. A tool buried for centuries, a carved stone hidden in a cave, or a fragile artifact preserved in ice or sand can speak volumes about human life, creativity, and adaptation. The careful design and intricate details of these items suggest both practical purpose and symbolic meaning, bridging the realms of utility and artistry. In examining them, we are invited to consider not only how they were made, but also the broader culture, beliefs, and knowledge of their creators. The fascination deepens when these discoveries point to knowledge that seems lost. Some artifacts suggest advanced understanding of astronomy, mathematics, or mechanics, challenging conventional timelines of human development. Others hint at long-distance trade, cultural exchange, or forgotten rituals. The mystery persists because while science can often analyze and categorize these items, their full significance remains elusive, leaving room for imagination and reflection. In this quiet space, between curiosity and uncertainty, we're drawn into the mind of the past, appreciating both human ingenuity and the enduring enigmas that make history endlessly compelling. Among the most captivating discoveries are those artifacts that resist easy explanation. These are items whose construction, purpose, or origin challenge our understanding of history. From intricately carved tools to objects made from unusual alloys, they suggest a depth of knowledge and craftsmanship that may surpass what we typically associate with their era. Such artifacts inspire reflection on human ingenuity, creativity, and the potential for civilizations to achieve remarkable feats that are partially or completely lost to time. The fascination lies not only in technical skill, but also in cultural and symbolic significance. Religious icons, ceremonial objects, and engraved stones offer glimpses into beliefs, rituals, and social structures, even when their exact meaning is lost. Each artifact acts as a silent witness, hinting at stories, practices, and human experiences that have long faded from collective memory. They invite us to imagine the people who made them, the challenges they faced, and the purpose these objects serve in daily life. What makes these relics particularly intriguing is their ability to challenge conventional narratives. Some hint at knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, or engineering that seems advanced for their time. Others suggest long-distance interactions between cultures previously thought isolated. Even simple items can reveal complex networks of trade, communication, or shared understanding. These discoveries bridge the known and unknown, fact and speculation, grounding us in evidence while opening our minds to possibility. They remind us that history is rarely straightforward, and that curiosity, imagination, and reflection are essential tools in exploring the past. The monuments and structures of ancient civilizations remain among the most awe-inspiring remnants of the past. From pyramids and temples to stone circles and tombs, these constructions reveal technical precision, cultural intention, and a remarkable understanding of astronomy and geometry. Their scale, alignment, and craftsmanship suggest sophisticated knowledge and organizational skill, inviting contemplation of human achievement across millennia. These structures often align with celestial events, such as solstices and equinoxes, reflecting not only technical knowledge, but also spiritual and ritual significance. The builders demonstrated an intimate connection between human activity and natural cycles, weaving observation, belief, and cultural expression into enduring forms. Their silent presence encourages reflection on both the ingenuity of their creators and the mysteries that remain unsolved. Beyond technical and symbolic importance, these monuments evoke a sense of continuity. They have endured centuries, even millennia, standing as links between the past and present. Their endurance contrasts with the impermanence of human life, highlighting both the fragility and resilience of civilizations. Observing them fosters contemplation of the labor, vision, and collective effort required to create such works. In this quiet reflection, we sense the dialogue between the known and unknown, the ordinary and extraordinary, as ancient structures continue to inspire wonder, curiosity, and a serene meditation on human history. Even as some civilizations faded from memory, traces of their presence endure in maps, inscriptions, and subtle hints of knowledge that suggest a world far more interconnected than we often imagine. Ancient maps, for example, sometimes depict coastlines, islands, and landmasses long before they were officially documented in modern times. Their detail and precision raise questions about lost knowledge, navigation skills, and the movement of people across vast distances. Were these maps the product of forgotten civilizations, careful observation, or imaginative interpretation passed through generations? Each possibility evokes wonder and reflection, drawing us into a quiet contemplation of the past. Evidence of human exploration and trade also hints at long-distance connections that defy conventional expectations. Artifacts, rare materials, and cultural influences have been found far from their origins, suggesting networks of exchange and communication that span continents. Deserted cities, isolated islands, and mountain settlements reveal human resilience and ingenuity, demonstrating that ancient peoples were capable of thriving in seemingly inhospitable environments. There's a poetic dimension to these uncharted territories. Nature often both conceals and preserves history, with deserts, ice, and forests acting as time capsules that protect evidence of human activity. Each discovery, whether a buried artifact or a preserved structure, slowly unfolds like a story whispered through time. The process encourages patience, observation, and reflection, allowing the mind to wander through possibilities while appreciating human creativity, adaptation, and enduring curiosity. Ultimately, these uncharted spaces remind us that history is never fully known. The past is a landscape of discovery, shaped by human ingenuity, natural preservation, and the mysteries that remain hidden. By exploring these traces, we engage in a reflective journey, considering both the extraordinary accomplishments of our ancestors and the secrets that continue to lie just beyond our grasp. Some of the most remarkable discoveries in human history are found not in bustling cities or open plains, but in the harsh, remote corners of the world where nature preserves as much as it conceals. Ice, sand, and arid landscapes have acted as silent guardians, holding relics of the past in suspended time. In frozen tundras, bodies of humans and animals have been uncovered with flesh, hair, and clothing intact, offering astonishing insight into lives lived thousands of years ago. These frozen treasures, preserved against decay by relentless cold, allow us to glimpse daily existence, rituals, and even the final moments of those who came before us. The contrast between the extreme hostility of these environments and the delicate preservation of fragile history creates a profound sense of awe, inviting contemplation of both human resilience and nature's quiet, patient hand. Desert landscapes offer another form of preservation. Shifting sands have buried entire cities beneath their golden waves, concealing streets, buildings, and artifacts from sight for centuries. Excavations in such places reveal urban planning, architecture, and daily tools, shedding light on civilizations once thought to be lost. The desert, with its relentless sun and wind, paradoxically protects these remnants, keeping them hidden from human interference until the right moment allows their revelation. As archaeologists carefully uncover layers of history, the past emerges slowly, revealing not only the ingenuity of its inhabitants, but also the fleeting, fragile nature of human achievement. There's a contemplative rhythm in this process, digging, revealing, understanding, that mirrors the natural unfolding of time itself. Burial sites found in these extreme environments often provide the most intimate glimpses into ancient lives. Mummies, whether frozen or preserved in arid sands, carry with them a sense of presence that transcends time. Their clothing, tools, and accompanying artifacts reveal personal choices, social status, and cultural norms. In some cases, even food and medicinal plants have been preserved alongside the bodies, offering insight into diets, health practices, and survival strategies. Each discovery evokes quiet reflection, as the viewer imagines the lives of individuals who walked the same earth millennia ago. These preserved remnants bridge the centuries, connecting us with people whose stories might otherwise have been lost, and reminding us that the past is alive in ways we can touch, observe, and imagine. Ice, in particular, has a unique way of suspending time. Glaciers and frozen soils conceal settlements, tools, and even written records, all preserved with astonishing clarity. In some cases, entire communities that were thought to be lost have emerged from icy entombment, revealing structures, belongings, and traces of everyday life. The stillness of these frozen discoveries is striking. Time seems to have paused, allowing modern observers to step gently into the past. There is a quiet drama in this encounter, a sense that the environment itself has safeguarded history, holding it in trust for those who are patient enough to uncover it. The contrast between the inhospitable conditions and the delicate preservation evokes both respect and wonder, encouraging contemplation of human adaptability and ingenuity. The preservation offered by extreme environments also extends to artifacts with remarkable technological and artistic significance. Tools, weapons, pottery, and textiles are often found in surprisingly intact condition, providing insight into the craftsmanship, skill, and creativity of ancient peoples. The precision of certain implements, the quality of fabrics, and the artistry in carvings or decorations speak to a sophisticated understanding of materials and techniques that might seem advanced for their time. These objects challenge assumptions about ancient civilizations, revealing ingenuity that resonates across millennia. In their careful study, we begin to appreciate not only the functional purpose of these items, but also their cultural and symbolic importance, offering a glimpse into the values, priorities, and aesthetics of societies long past. Equally fascinating is the way nature both conceals and protects these discoveries. Deserts, glaciers, and caves can remain inaccessible for centuries, allowing artifacts to remain untouched by human hands. This natural preservation creates a sense of discovery that is almost poetic. The past emerges gradually, layer by layer, like a story whispered through time. Archaeologists and researchers work delicately, understanding that each artifact carries both information and fragility. There is a rhythm to the process: excavation, documentation, interpretation, that is slow and deliberate, mirroring the careful unfolding of history itself. Observers are invited into this rhythm, experiencing the quiet satisfaction of learning while maintaining the meditative pace that characterizes sleep-friendly exploration of the past. The extreme preservation of these environments also allows for scientific investigation that would be impossible elsewhere. Modern techniques, such as DNA analysis, radiocarbon dating, and isotope studies, enable researchers to reconstruct diets, migrations, and even social structures. Frozen or buried remains act as time capsules, preserving information about climate, health, and genetics that can illuminate patterns of human adaptation. The contrast between ancient ingenuity and modern scientific insight creates a dialogue across centuries. Humans of the past, through their daily choices, left clues that continue to speak to us, and modern technology allows those clues to be interpreted in ways once unimaginable. Perhaps most compelling is the sense of intimacy these discoveries foster. Unlike grand monuments or public structures, these preserved sites often reflect the private lives of individuals, their homes, possessions, and final resting places. In the quiet solitude of a frozen tomb or a buried dwelling, one can almost feel the presence of the people who live there, sense their routines, and imagine their thoughts. The experience is deeply human, bridging the gap between the distant past and our own contemporary lives. It invites reflection not only on the fragility of human existence, but also on the remarkable capacity for adaptation, creativity, and resilience. Even as we marvel at the preservation offered by ice and sand, there's an underlying reminder of impermanence. The same forces that have safeguarded these discoveries for centuries can also destroy them if disturbed too abruptly. Melting glaciers, shifting dunes, and erosion all act as silent reminders that time is both protector and destroyer. This duality enhances the contemplative experience, encouraging patience and respect for both the natural world and the history it preserves. Each discovery becomes a fleeting encounter, a moment to witness and reflect upon before it slips again into the passage of time. In these frozen and buried realms, the human story is revealed in fragments, yet resonates with completeness. Clothing, tools, art, and even food allow us to imagine a fully realized world, one in which daily life, culture, and survival intersect in ways both familiar and extraordinary. The interplay between human effort and environmental preservation creates a profound sense of wonder, as we realize that the past is not only recorded in monuments or texts, but also carefully safeguarded in the silent patience of nature. Each discovery invites quiet contemplation, encouraging the mind to wander through time, reflect on human resilience, and marvel at the ingenuity that allowed people to thrive in some of the most challenging conditions on Earth. Ultimately, these preserved sites remind us that history is never truly lost. It waits in the shadows, in the ice, in the sand, and in other extreme environments, holding fragments of lives that are both extraordinary and intimate. By uncovering and reflecting upon these relics, we gain insight not only into the lives of those who came before us, but also into the enduring qualities of human curiosity, creativity, and adaptation. The discoveries are gentle invitations, leading us slowly into a deeper appreciation of the past, fostering both awe and reflection, and guiding us quietly through the mysteries that continue to shape our understanding of human history. Among the most intriguing revelations in the study of human history are the discoveries that challenge everything we thought we knew about our ancestors. These are the anomalies, the artifacts, and the structures that do not fit neatly into the conventional narratives, that hint at capabilities, knowledge, and connections far beyond what is commonly accepted. Their existence evokes a subtle, quiet fascination, a sense that the past is richer, stranger, and more complex than textbooks have allowed us to imagine. These discoveries draw us into a space where curiosity is more important than certainty, where the mind is invited to linger and wonder, and where the ordinary meets the extraordinary in unexpected ways. Some anomalies arise from technological sophistication that seems almost impossible for the time period in which they appear. Tools, instruments, and mechanical devices have been found that suggest knowledge of metallurgy, engineering, and mathematics far earlier than previously believed. Their precision and complexity spark questions about the transmission of knowledge across generations and across cultures. How could societies separated by vast distances have achieved similar technological feats independently? Were there networks of knowledge that spanned continents, lost to history, yet hinting at a human ingenuity that we are only beginning to recognize? Each artifact invites the mind to travel backward in time, imagining the hands that crafted it, the minds that conceived it, and the worlds in which it was used. Beyond the technical, there are anomalies that speak to cultural sophistication. Certain artworks, inscriptions, and ceremonial sites suggest a depth of social and spiritual understanding that challenges our assumptions about early civilizations. The iconography, symbolism, and ritualistic precision of these discoveries indicate not only aesthetic sensibilities, but also complex belief systems and social structures. They reveal societies capable of abstract thought, long-term planning, and community coordination, qualities that are sometimes underestimated in historical narratives. These discoveries encourage us to reconsider our definitions of progress, intelligence, and civilization, reminding us that human potential has always been multifaceted and often surprising. Geographical anomalies also present fascinating puzzles. Sites have been discovered in regions previously thought to be uninhabitable or inaccessible at certain points in history. From high-altitude settlements in mountainous regions to isolated islands that show evidence of long-distance seafaring, these locations force us to rethink our understanding of human mobility and adaptation. The people who inhabited these extreme landscapes must have possessed remarkable resilience, ingenuity, and knowledge of their environment. The presence of these settlements hints at a world where human activity was far more widespread than commonly assumed, suggesting networks of migration, trade, and cultural exchange that have yet to be fully documented. Sometimes, anomalies appear in the form of unexpected connections between distant civilizations. Artifacts with stylistic or material similarities found thousands of miles apart challenge assumptions about isolated development. Were these coincidences evidence of parallel evolution, or hints of long-forgotten contact between cultures? Each connection opens a quiet dialogue across space and time, suggesting that ancient humans may have communicated, shared ideas, or traveled in ways that modern historians are only beginning to comprehend. These anomalies do not provide easy answers. Instead, they nurture the mind's capacity for curiosity and imagination, reminding us that the story of humanity is far richer and more interconnected than it first appears. Equally compelling are anomalies that challenge chronology itself. Some objects, texts, or structures appear to predate the civilizations to which they are commonly attributed, suggesting that our timelines may need revision. Radiocarbon dating, stratigraphy, and other methods of scientific analysis occasionally reveal discrepancies that force historians to reconsider established narratives. These findings are not merely academic. They subtly transform our understanding of human development, inviting reflection on how knowledge, technology, and culture evolve over time. They suggest a past that is not linear, not simple, but intricate, layered, and full of surprises waiting to be discovered. The enigmatic nature of these anomalies is amplified by the fact that many of them remain partially unexplained. Even with the most advanced tools and methodologies, researchers often encounter questions that cannot be definitively answered. Why was a particular tool designed in a seemingly unconventional way? How did a civilization achieve such architectural precision without modern machinery? What purpose did a series of inscriptions, symbols, or alignments serve? The lack of definitive answers does not diminish their significance. Rather, it heightens the sense of wonder, encouraging a contemplative engagement with history rather than a rush to resolution. The unknown becomes an invitation, a space in which the imagination can roam freely and the mind can appreciate the breadth of human creativity. These anomalies also highlight the delicate interplay between preservation and discovery. Many of these extraordinary finds are possible only because of unique environmental conditions. Caves that shield artifacts from decay, deserts that bury them under layers of sand, or ice that preserves them in remarkable detail. Nature, in its quiet patience, becomes a partner in the unfolding of history, holding secrets until the right moment allows their revelation. This interplay reminds us that history is not only constructed by human hands, but also by the circumstances of survival, decay, and preservation. It is a collaboration across time, between human endeavor and the natural world, that allows the extraordinary to endure and eventually speak to us. There is also a philosophical aspect to these anomalies. They challenge not only what we know about history, but also how we think about knowledge itself. They remind us that certainty is often temporary, that the past is never fully captured, and that each discovery can reshape our understanding of who we are and where we come from. The anomalies become gentle prompts, inviting reflection, humility, and curiosity. They encourage us to recognize the vastness of human potential, the depth of our ancestors' imagination, and the countless stories that remain hidden, waiting for patient observers to uncover them. In contemplating these discoveries, the viewer is encouraged to slow down, to reflect, and to appreciate the subtle elegance of history's complexity. There is no rush, no need for immediate conclusions. Instead, each anomaly is an invitation to linger, to imagine the hands that shaped it, the minds that conceived it, and the lives that were intertwined with it. The process of pondering these mysteries becomes itself a form of meditation, a calm, reflective journey through time that nurtures curiosity without urgency and wonder without stress. Ultimately, anomalies in history serve as reminders that human civilization is far more intricate and surprising than we often assume. They challenge conventional narratives, expand our understanding, and awaken a deep sense of curiosity about the past. They illustrate that the story of humanity is not linear or predictable, but rich, interconnected, and full of possibilities. By engaging with these extraordinary finds, we enter a space of quiet contemplation where fact and mystery coexist, where knowledge and imagination intertwine, and where the mind is invited to explore the incredible depth, creativity, and resilience of those who came before us. Among the most fascinating and often overlooked aspects of human history are the remnants of knowledge that seem to have vanished almost entirely, leaving only subtle traces behind. These are the inventions, practices, and ideas that hint at a civilization far more advanced or interconnected than the written record or monumental evidence alone can reveal. They appear in fragments, tools whose purpose is not fully understood, symbols and scripts that resist translation, and constructions that suggest both technical precision and conceptual sophistication. In encountering these remnants, we are drawn into a world that exists between the known and the unknown, where every discovery is both illuminating and humbling. The mind lingers here, attentive yet relaxed, captivated by the whisper of civilizations that may have been lost to time, yet still speak softly through the artifacts they left behind. Some of these lost knowledges emerge from ancient technologies that seem inexplicably sophisticated, devices with complex mechanisms, intricate craftsmanship, or materials that were uncommon or difficult to produce point to a mastery of science and engineering that challenges conventional timelines. These artifacts encourage a reevaluation of what humans were capable of in earlier epochs, hinting at technical skills that might have been widely practiced, yet largely forgotten. The discovery of such devices evokes a subtle thrill, not a sudden revelation, but a slow unfolding of curiosity, an appreciation for ingenuity that transcends centuries. In their quiet persistence, these objects suggest that human creativity has always found ways to meet challenges, invent solutions, and explore possibilities, even in the absence of widespread documentation or recognition. Equally compelling are remnants that suggest advanced understanding in abstract or conceptual domains. Mathematical patterns, astronomical observations, and symbolic systems embedded in artifacts indicate that ancient societies were capable of sophisticated reasoning, careful observation, and abstract thought. Alignments of temples, monuments, or ceremonial sites with celestial events reveal a precision that demands careful measurement, long-term observation, and cultural significance. These discoveries are often subtle, requiring attention to detail and imaginative interpretation to appreciate fully. They invite the mind to consider not only what was achieved, but also how it was conceived, what motivated these choices, and what knowledge was passed silently from one generation to the next. Lost practices and rituals also contribute to this sense of vanished knowledge. Artifacts related to ceremonial or spiritual activities often survive long after the living traditions themselves have disappeared. These objects, ceremonial tools, engraved stones, ritual vessels, offer insight into the values, beliefs, and social structures of past societies. Yet their full meaning remains partially obscured, as the context in which they were used is often gone. In contemplating these remnants, we are reminded that knowledge is not always purely practical or technical. Some knowledge is cultural, social, and symbolic, transmitted through practice, oral tradition, and collective memory, and it may disappear without leaving a fully legible record. Even in partial understanding, however, we gain a sense of the richness, creativity, and depth of human civilization. The concept of lost knowledge is further enriched by discoveries that suggest connections across time and space. Artifacts found in one region may resemble objects, techniques, or symbols from distant lands, implying networks of trade, communication, or shared understanding. These unexpected connections challenge assumptions about isolation or simplicity in ancient societies. They hint at a human past that was more global, interconnected, and dynamic than conventional narratives suggest. Each of these findings becomes a quiet invitation to imagine the journeys, exchanges, and interactions that shaped human experience over centuries. They remind us that the story of history is not only written in grand monuments or official records, but also in subtle, intricate patterns that connect people, places, and ideas across vast distances. There is also a profound meditative quality to reflecting on lost knowledge. Unlike the immediate satisfaction of discovering a fully understood artifact, encountering something partially mysterious encourages patience, attention, and imagination. The mind moves slowly, tracing possibilities, considering contexts, and envisioning scenarios that might explain the artifact's purpose or significance. In this process, the viewer experiences a gentle tension between curiosity and contemplation, a space where discovery and reflection merge. The unknown is not a problem to solve immediately, but a landscape to explore gradually, allowing the imagination to wander alongside the evidence. In this, the study of lost knowledge becomes not just an intellectual exercise, but a contemplative journey, soothing yet stimulating, quiet yet deeply engaging. Some remnants of knowledge also provoke reflection on the impermanence of human achievement. The civilizations that produce these sophisticated tools, symbols, and structures often disappeared due to natural disasters, climate shifts, social upheaval, or other forces beyond their control. Their achievements, remarkable in their own time, became obscured or forgotten. Yet even in partial survival, these remnants testify to human resilience, ingenuity, and curiosity. They remind us that what survives may only be a fraction of what once existed, and that history is shaped as much by loss as by preservation. There's a gentle poignancy in this realization, a quiet acknowledgement of the ephemeral nature of human endeavors alongside their enduring echoes. In contemplating lost knowledge, the contrast between what is visible and what remains hidden is particularly compelling. Some discoveries are tangible and concrete, while others are suggested by indirect evidence or faint traces. A fragment of pottery may hint at an entire tradition of craftsmanship. A faint inscription may imply a sophisticated system of communication, or a carefully aligned stone may indicate advanced astronomical understanding. Each discovery is a gateway to imagination, inviting reflection on what was known, what has been lost, and what might still be hidden beneath layers of time and earth. This interplay between visibility and mystery sustains curiosity, while encouraging a patient, meditative approach to history that is perfectly suited to sleep-friendly exploration. Finally, reflecting on lost knowledge encourages a deeper appreciation of continuity and adaptation. Even when ancient knowledge is partially lost, it often influences subsequent cultures, technologies, and traditions in subtle ways. Techniques may resurface, ideas may evolve, and symbolic forms may echo across centuries. The study of these remnants invites the mind to see history not as a linear progression, but as a web of human experience, where knowledge is transmitted, transformed, and occasionally forgotten, only to inspire future generations in unexpected ways. By engaging with these fragments of lost wisdom, we participate in a gentle dialogue across time, connecting with the creativity, curiosity, and resilience that have always been central to the human story. In this exploration, lost knowledge becomes more than a collection of curious artifacts. It is a meditation on human ingenuity, impermanence, and interconnectedness. It invites contemplation, imagination, and reflection, creating a serene yet deeply engaging journey into the mysteries of the past. The artifacts whisper stories of civilizations that were once vibrant, complex, and inventive, guiding us softly through questions that may never be fully answered, yet resonate with the beauty and depth of human experience. Beneath the tranquil waves off the southern coast of Japan, where sunlight filters through the turquoise blue of the East China Sea, lies something that has puzzled the world for decades. Divers who descend into these waters near the island of Yonaguni find themselves confronted not with coral reefs or shipwrecks, but with immense, geometric stone terraces. Massive steps rise in clean lines, corners form perfect angles, and pillars stand like silent guardians of an underwater temple. It is as if an ancient city sleeps beneath the ocean, vast, symmetrical, and impossibly precise. The Yonaguni Monument was first discovered in 1986 by a local diver named Kahachiro Aratake. At first, he believed he had stumbled upon a natural formation, yet the deeper he swam, the more deliberate the shapes appeared. The structure stretched across a massive area, roughly the size of a football field, with terraces, platforms, and what appear to be stairways carved directly into solid rock. Word spread quickly. Scientists, geologists, and explorers from around the world began to descend on Yonaguni, each with their own theories. Was this a natural geological formation sculpted by thousands of years of erosion? Or was it evidence of an advanced civilization lost beneath the sea? The site's most striking feature is the precision of its geometry. The steps are evenly spaced, with right angles so sharp that they seem machined. The monument's main terrace drops nearly 25 meters, forming layers that rise like a ziggurat or pyramid. Along its sides, divers have identified what appear to be pathways, gates, and even what some describe as a road leading to adjoining platforms. Under the dim light of the ocean, these features take on a dreamlike quality, too deliberate to be accidental, yet too ancient to be explained easily. Geologists who have studied the monument often point to the island's sandstone composition. They argue that the region is known for a type of sedimentary rock that naturally fractures into rectangular blocks due to seismic activity and erosion. Over thousands of years, The shifting earth and the sea's slow, grinding motion could have carved these angular shapes without human hands ever touching them. To these scientists, Yonaguni is a marvel of nature, an accidental masterpiece created by time, pressure, and the patient rhythm of the tides. But others see something more deliberate. Among the strongest proponents of the monument's artificial origins is Dr. Masaaki Kimura, a marine geologist who spent years studying the site. He claims that the monument shows evidence of tool marks and even carvings, signs that humans shaped the structure long before it sank beneath the sea. According to Kimura's research, parts of the monument seem to align with nearby stone circles and archaeological sites found on land, suggesting that Yonaguni might once have been part of a much larger settlement before rising sea level swallowed it. Kimura and others have gone so far as to propose that the monument could be over 10,000 years old, dating back to the end of the last ice age, when melting glaciers caused the oceans to rise dramatically. If true, that would place the Yonaguni monument far before the recognized birth of advanced civilizations, long before the pyramids of Egypt or the temples of Mesopotamia. It would suggest that organized societies capable of monumental architecture existed in a prehistoric era, an idea that defies everything traditional archaeology believes. Still, skeptics remain unconvinced. To them, the supposed steps and walls are merely the product of natural fracturing, their straight edges an illusion created by human pattern seeking. They argue that underwater currents and seismic shifts can produce surprisingly geometric results, and that what we perceive as design is often a trick of perspective. One scientist compared it to seeing faces in clouds, the mind's natural tendency to create order from chaos. Yet when divers swim through the monument's heart, the sense of design feels hard to ignore. Some describe what seems like a grand staircase leading up to a raised platform, as though it were once an altar or stage. Others claim to have found what appear to be stone columns and the remnants of walls, though no one can agree whether these are natural or carved. As the light shifts through the water, the monument seems to transform. One moment a temple, the next a mountain of stone shaped by chance. The mystery deepens when one considers the ancient myths of Japan. There are legends of a lost land called Mu, a great civilization said to have vanished beneath the waves in a cataclysm, much like Atlantis. Some writers and explorers have connected Yonaguni to these myths, imagining that this monument could be a remnant of that forgotten world. It is an alluring thought that beneath the calm sea lies the memory of an age that once flourished, now erased from the record of time. But even if the structure is natural, there is something profoundly symbolic about how it captures our imagination. The human mind is drawn to patterns, to stories hidden within the stone. We look upon a monument and cannot help but wonder, what if? Perhaps the mystery of Yonaguni lies not in its origins, but in what it represents. The longing to find meaning in the unknown, to reach back into the mist of time and recover what we have lost. Marine life now thrives among the monument's terraces. Schools of fish move through corridors that may once have been roads, and coral has begun to reclaim the stone, painting it with soft colors of life. In this way, nature and history coexist, the living and the forgotten woven together. The monument breathes with the slow rhythm of the sea, its silence speaking volumes. When scientists map the monument with sonar and 3D scanning technology, the resulting models reveal even more complexity. There appear to be adjoining formations on the seafloor, large stone blocks, circular pits, and structures resembling amphitheaters. Some of these are close enough to suggest they were once connected above sea level. If the sea indeed rose to submerge them, then perhaps Yonaguni was once part of an island chain inhabited by early humans, who may have shaped their surroundings in ways we still struggle to recognize. Archaeological traces around the region support at least part of this idea. Ancient pottery shards, tools, and artifacts have been found on Yonaguni and neighboring islands, dating back thousands of years. These items belong to early Jaman culture, a people known for their artistic pottery and deep spiritual connection to nature. While the Jaman are not known for building stone structures, their existence during the same period raises intriguing possibilities. Could a precursor to the Jaman have left behind the monument before being wiped out by rising seas? Such questions hover like the gentle motion of the tide, constant, unresolved, yet endlessly fascinating. The monument refuses to yield its story. Scientists debate, diverse dream, and storytellers find poetry in its silence. Each theory feels both possible and incomplete, as though the truth lies suspended between geology and myth. For those who visit Yonaguni, the experience borders on the surreal. As you descend into the deep blue, the world above fades away. The only sounds are the slow pulse of your own breath and the distant hum of the ocean. The monument looms out of the shadows like a sleeping giant, its steps vanishing into the dark. Whether carved by hand or shaped by time, it carries the weight of forgotten centuries. It is a place that reminds you how small and temporary human memory truly is. If the monument is natural, it stands as a monument to nature's artistry, the sea's patient sculpting of stone into architecture. If it is man-made, it stands as a monument to human ingenuity, proof that our ancestors reached heights we have barely begun to rediscover. Either way, it is a structure of wonder, a question carved into the bedrock of the earth. In the gentle rhythm of narration, the story of Yonaguni becomes more than a debate of science. It becomes a reflection on time itself, how civilizations rise and fall, how the ocean erases and preserves in equal measure. The water becomes a veil, both concealing and protecting what once was. Each wave that rolls across the surface above the monument is like a hand brushing away the past, even as it whispers its name. As divers ascend back toward the surface, sunlight shimmers through the waves, creating golden ripples across the stone. The monument fades once more into shadow, returning to its timeless slumber. The sea closes over it with a sigh, as though keeping a secret not yet meant to be revealed. And perhaps that is the true heart of the mystery, that not all questions are meant to be answered. Some truths are meant to remain half-seen, suspended between light and darkness, dream and reality. The Yonaguni Monument, whether the work of ancient hands or the sea's quiet artistry, will continue to sleep beneath the waves, a riddle carved in stone, waiting for us to remember what the ocean already knows. When the narrator's voice softens, the story drifts towards silence, inviting the listener to imagine the vast, quiet world beneath the sea. There, in the stillness, lies the possibility that our history is not a straight line, but a circle, one that forever loops between discovery and loss, between knowing and wonder. And as the current carries the sound of the waves into the distance, the monument waits, patient, eternal, and unknowable. Across the endless desert plains of southern Peru lies one of humanity's most haunting enigmas, a canvas so vast that its full meaning can only be seen from the heavens. The Nazca lines stretch across nearly 500 square kilometers of arid plateau, where the wind almost never blows and the sand remains still for centuries. From the ground, they appear as shallow grooves etched into the earth. But from above, the desert transforms into an ancient gallery, an orchestra of lines, spirals, and massive figures that seem to whisper upward toward the stars. These great designs, some stretching hundreds of meters in length, depict animals, plants, geometric shapes, and abstract patterns. A hummingbird with wings spanning the size of a football field. A spider drawn with perfect proportion, visible only from far above. A monkey curling into a spiral, its tail like a cosmic fingerprint. There are over 800 straight lines, 300 geometric figures, and more than 70 massive depictions of living creatures, each carved into the red earth by removing a thin layer of oxidized stones to reveal the lighter soil beneath. The first question that grips anyone who sees them is both simple and immense. Why? The Nazca lines were created between 500 BCE and 500 CE by the Nazca people an ancient civilization known for their pottery, weaving, and deep spiritual connection to the natural world. Yet the purpose behind their desert art remains cloaked in mystery. Standing on the ground, one cannot perceive the full shapes. They are too vast, too sprawling. This has led to centuries of speculation. Were they offerings to the gods? Celestial calendars tracking the movements of stars? Messages for beings who could see them only from the skies? When aircraft first flew over the Nazca Desert in the 1920s, pilots were astonished by the sight. From the air, the patterns appeared unmistakably deliberate, drawn with precision and purpose. Archaeologists soon began to study them in detail, but the more they learned, the deeper the mystery grew. How could a pre-industrial culture create designs of such enormous scale without any way to see them from above? How did they maintain their symmetry across kilometers of barren land? One of the earliest researchers, Paul Kosak, called the Nazca Desert the largest astronomy book in the world. He noticed that many of the lines seemed to align with the sunrise or sunset during solstices, suggesting that the figures might have served as a kind of astronomical calendar. Later, archaeologist Maria Reich dedicated her entire life to studying the lines. She lived alone in a small hut near the desert for decades, mapping the geoglyphs by hand under the searing sun. To her, the lines were sacred expressions of harmony between the heavens and the earth, vast calendars that allowed the Nazca to track agricultural seasons and honor their gods. But even Reich admitted that not all the figures could be explained by astronomy. Some lines stretch aimlessly across the desert, intersecting or continuing into infinity. Others form intricate patterns unrelated to celestial movements. The deeper scholars looked, the more possibilities unfolded. Recent studies suggest that the lines might have guided ceremonial processions, ritual pathways walked by priests or pilgrims to honor deities who controlled water and fertility. In a region where rainfall is rare and survival depends on irrigation, the sky was not just a mystery, it was life itself. The Nazca may have walked these immense paths in prayer, tracing sacred routes meant to call the gods of rain down from the clouds. Under this interpretation, the geoglyphs were never meant to be seen from above. They were walked upon, experienced physically, a form of earthbound devotion to the cosmos. The lines were prayers written not with ink or parchment, but with motion and faith. Each path may have represented a ritual journey, a dialogue between humans and the divine. Others, however, see the figures as markers of something older, remnants of a wisdom that transcends one culture. The geometric perfection of certain designs, like the straight lines that run for miles without deviation, has inspired speculation that they might encode ancient knowledge. Astronomical alignments, magnetic coordinates, or even forgotten methods of communication. Some theorists wonder whether the Nazca inherited these designs from an earlier civilization, now lost to the sands of time. More imaginative theories have captured the public imagination, that the lines were landing strips for ancient visitors from the stars, signals to extraterrestrial beings who once walked the earth. While scientists largely dismiss such ideas, their popularity reveals something profound about human nature, our instinct to see meaning in the vastness of the unknown. The Nazca lines awaken that instinct more than almost any other place on Earth. The landscape itself adds to the mystery. The Nazca Desert is one of the driest regions in the world, receiving less than an inch of rain per year. Because of this extreme aridity, the lines have been preserved for over 2 millennia, untouched by erosion or vegetation. The soil's unique chemistry, dark pebbles atop pale clay, creates a natural contrast that has kept the designs visible for thousands of years. It is as if the earth itself conspired to keep these messages intact, guarding them in silence until we were ready to see them. Walking across the plateau today, one feels a strange sense of time suspended. The air is utterly still. The horizon stretches endlessly, and the heat shimmers like a mirage. There is no sound, only the faint whisper of the wind moving over ancient stone. In that stillness, the lines seem alive, like veins in the earth carrying forgotten stories. When drones and satellite imagery revealed even more hidden geoglyphs in recent years, smaller figures buried beneath the sand, the mystery deepened further. Some of these new designs are far older or younger than the classic Nazca lines, suggesting that the tradition of desert art may have spanned generations, perhaps even different cultures. The desert, in this sense, became a sacred canvas, one that countless hands may have added to over time, each generation inscribing its hopes and fears into the eternal silence. To imagine the creation of these lines is to imagine devotion on an unimaginable scale. Workers would have had to measure distances, align points with the stars, and clear vast stretches of stone by hand. The precision of their work, even without modern tools, reveals an advanced understanding of geometry and coordination. Perhaps they used wooden stakes and ropes to plan their designs, walking together under the blistering sun to mark each line with care. What drives a people to create such immense, unseen art? The answer, whatever it may be, speaks of reverence, a desire to leave something behind that transcends the limits of the visible. From a poetic lens, the Nazca lines are less a riddle to be solved and more a song to be felt. They're the physical manifestation of humanity's longing to connect with the infinite. Whether they were maps of the heavens, pathways for rituals, or prayers to the gods, they express the same yearning that has guided every civilization, the desire to touch eternity. Perhaps the Nazca people stood beneath the same stars we see today, looking up at the Milky Way, a river of light flowing across the desert sky. Perhaps they felt the same awe and mystery that we do, and sought to mirror that celestial beauty upon the earth. The geoglyphs could then be seen as mirrors of the heavens, the sky drawn downward, the universe made tangible in the soil. At twilight, when the desert cools and shadows stretch across the lines, the silence becomes sacred. The air carries the faint scent of ancient dust, and the horizon burns with the last light of the sun. In that moment, one feels that the people who carved these figures did not simply live here. They belonged to this land. Their art was not decoration. It was communication. It was their way of speaking to the universe, of saying, "We are here. We see you." Modern archaeologists now work with care to preserve the Nazca lines against the threats of erosion, climate change, and human activity. Despite their endurance, the lines are fragile. Tire tracks, illegal mining, or even careless footsteps can damage patterns that have survived for millennia. Preservationists treat them with reverence, as though protecting not just art, but memory itself. What makes the Nazca lines so hypnotic is not merely their size or age, but the way they bridge two worlds, the tangible and the transcendent. They exist in the physical realm, carved into stone, yet their meaning hovers beyond reach. Each line is both a path and a question. Each figure is both an image and a silence. They are evidence of a civilization whose greatest creation was not conquest or empire, but mystery itself. As the narrator's voice softens, the focus drifts upward, from the parched earth to the stars. The same stars that guided the Nazca still shimmer overhead, unchanged, eternal. From that height, the desert below might once again appear as the ancients intended, a living constellation drawn upon the face of the world. And perhaps that is the greatest truth of the Nazca lines, that they were never meant to be solved, only seen. They are the heartbeat of a forgotten people, still pulsing beneath the dust. They remind us that even in the vast silence of the desert, humanity speaks, not always in words, but in wonder. As the wind rises and dusk falls over the Peruvian plains, the camera lingers over the shapes fading into shadow. The hummingbird, the spider, the spiral of the monkey's tail. Their lines, still bright against the darkening sand, seem to glow with a quiet defiance, as if whispering through time, "Look closer. Listen." In the silence that follows, the desert remains still, timeless, unknowable, and infinite. The Nazca lines continue their eternal vigil, neither fully revealing nor fully concealing their purpose. And somewhere between the ground and the sky, between what is known and what is imagined, the truth drifts, waiting to be dreamed again. Deep within the lush jungles and quiet plains of Costa Rica, scattered among banana plantations and mist-covered hills, lie hundreds of near-perfect stone spheres. Some are small enough to cradle in one's hands, while others weigh over 15 tons and measure more than 2 meters across. They sit in clusters, in straight lines, and in careful geometric patterns, as though placed there with intention and meaning. Their surfaces are smooth, their symmetry astonishing. Yet no one knows exactly who made them, when they were made, or for what purpose. The discovery of these mysterious orbs began in the 1930s, when workers for the United Fruit Company were clearing land in the Diquis Delta to make way for banana plantations. As the bulldozers pushed through the dense forest, they stumbled upon massive spheres of solid stone emerging from the earth. Their shapes were so perfect that some workers, hoping to find gold or treasure inside, broke a few open with dynamite. All they found was more stone, pure and solid to the core. Archaeologists soon arrived, baffled by the craftsmanship. These were not naturally occurring boulders. They had been shaped and polished with incredible precision. Most were carved from gabbro, a dense volcanic rock that would have required tremendous effort to sculpt, especially without modern tools. Others were made of limestone and sandstone, materials found in nearby mountains. Yet the spheres had been transported great distances across rivers and through jungle terrain. The feat of their creation alone suggested a level of coordination and labor far beyond what was once assumed of pre-Columbian cultures in the region. The more spheres that were uncovered, the greater the mystery grew. Over 300 have been cataloged so far, many of them grouped in strange arrangements: triangles, straight lines, rectangles, and even curved alignments that hint at astronomical significance. Some seem to point toward the rising or setting sun during solstices, others towards sacred mountains or river junctions. Yet, despite decades of study, no definitive pattern or written record has ever been found to explain them. The spheres are silent. They offer no inscriptions, no carvings, no sign of their creator's intentions. Their simplicity is what makes them so haunting. It is as though they were meant not to tell a story, but to preserve a feeling, balance, order, perhaps even harmony. They seem to embody a kind of ancient mathematical beauty, a perfection born of patience and purpose. Researchers generally attribute the spheres to the Diquis culture, which thrived between 700 and 1500 CE, long before the arrival of Europeans. The Diquis people were known for their complex social organization and artistic skill, but little of their written history survives. Much of their civilization vanished after the Spanish conquest, leaving behind only a few remnants: pottery, burial sites, and these timeless orbs of stone. For archaeologists, the spheres may have held symbolic or spiritual meaning, perhaps representing planets, deities, or power. For the Diquis, they could have been symbols of the cosmos, placed to mirror the order of the heavens upon the earth. One theory suggests that the spheres marked the homes or tombs of high-ranking individuals. In this interpretation, their size and precision might have reflected status. The larger the sphere, the greater the person's influence or importance. Others believe they could have served as territorial markers, mapping sacred boundaries between clans or ceremonial spaces. Still, these explanations feel incomplete. The sheer number and perfection of the spheres seem to point towards something grander, an expression of a worldview now lost to time. Standing before one of these stones, the human eye cannot help but be drawn to its flawless symmetry. There is something deeply soothing about their form, the absence of edges, the infinite continuity of the curve. The sphere, after all, is nature's most universal shape. From the planets that orbit our sun to the raindrops that fall to Earth, from the atoms that make up matter to the celestial bodies beyond our sight, everything follows the geometry of the circle. Perhaps the people who shaped these stones were echoing a cosmic truth, that all things are bound in cycles, that the universe itself moves in endless return. To create even one of these spheres would have been a monumental task. The Dequis had no metal tools, no machines. They would have had to carve the hard volcanic rock using other stones, sand, and fire, heating and cooling the surface to gradually break it down. The polishing process would have taken months, if not years, of constant attention. Yet somehow hundreds were made. The patience required speaks of a people who viewed time differently, who saw creation not as labor, but as devotion. When sunlight falls across these ancient stones, their surfaces gleam softly, reflecting the colors of the surrounding jungle. Moss clings to their bases, vines curl around them, and rain gathers in small shimmering pools on their curves. In the evening, as the golden light fades, the spheres take on a presence that feels almost alive, silent witnesses to centuries of change. Birds perch upon them. The jungle breathes around them. And still they remain, untouched by decay, their mystery intact. Some locals once believed the spheres possessed magical properties, that they were enchanted by the gods or created by a long-vanished race of giants. Others whispered that they were remnants of Atlantis, flung across the world during some ancient cataclysm. Even today, these myths persist, blending archaeology with legend in a way that feels fitting. The spheres seem to invite imagination. Their simplicity becomes a mirror for our own questions about origins, about memory, about the invisible lines connecting past and present. In recent decades, preservation efforts have sought to protect the remaining spheres. Many were moved from their original sites, scattered in museums, or displayed in city squares. Yet archaeologists now strive to study them within their original landscape, recognizing that their placement might hold the key to understanding their meaning. In 2014, UNESCO declared the pre-Columbian chiefdom settlements with stone spheres of the Dequis a World Heritage Site, not only for their archaeological significance, but for their poetic symbolism. They represent, in the words of the declaration, an exceptional testimony to the complex social, economic, and political systems of the pre-Columbian societies of the region. But beyond their historical context, the spheres invite a quieter reflection, one that touches on something deeply human. Across the world, from the pyramids of Egypt to the stone circles of Britain, from the terraces of Peru to the temples of Cambodia, ancient peoples sought to impose order upon the natural world. They carved, built, and aligned their works with the stars, as though to prove that humanity could echo the divine harmony of creation. The Costa Rican spheres, in their simplicity, may represent the purest expression of that desire. Perfect balance, perfect silence, perfect form. There is something profoundly meditative about them. To stand among dozens of these orbs, scattered across a clearing in the jungle, is to feel time dissolve. The mind quiets. The noise of civilization fades, and what remains is geometry and breath. A reminder that our ancestors, too, sought peace in the patterns of the universe. They did not build for fame or conquest, but for alignment with something eternal. As the camera lingers on these ancient stones, the narration slows. The sound of distant rain merges with the hum of insects. Mist drifts through the trees. The spheres gleam like moons fallen to earth, fragments of a cosmic language we can no longer read. Perhaps their purpose was not to communicate in words, but in feeling, to evoke balance, to harmonize with the rhythms of nature. In that sense, they're not just artifacts. They are meditations carved into stone. Scientists continue to study them, measuring their proportions and comparing their arrangements with celestial maps. Yet even with modern tools and digital models, the secret of their creation remains elusive. Every test, every theory leads back to the same quiet conclusion. Whoever made these stones understood something we have forgotten, something about patience, intention, and the quiet power of form. In a world obsessed with progress and explanation, the spheres remind us that mystery itself can be sacred. Not all knowledge needs to be uncovered, not all symbols translated. Some things exist to be contemplated, to humble us before the vastness of time. As night falls over the Dequest Delta, the jungle darkens and the spheres disappear into shadow. The air grows heavy with the scent of rain and earth. Somewhere in the distance, the river murmurs its endless song. The narrator's voice softens, almost a whisper now, reminding us that these stones have outlived their makers, their meanings, and their myths. Yet still they endure, perfect and silent, as though guarding a truth too simple and too vast to be spoken aloud. Perhaps that is their message, that perfection needs no explanation, that the universe itself speaks in a language of circles, that in the end, all stories, all civilizations, all human striving, return to the same point from which they began. And so, under the canopy of stars, the stone spheres rest, unmoving, unchanging, timeless. Geometry turned to prayer. Silence turned to memory. The echo of hands long vanished, shaping the eternal into form. History is often thought of as a solid, unbroken line, a continuous narrative stretching from the past into the present. We imagine it as a chain of events, firmly anchored in time, each link connecting seamlessly to the next. But when we examine the artifacts, monuments, and mysteries that have survived the ages, it becomes clear that history is far more fragile than we like to admit. It is a tapestry woven from threads both seen and unseen, some strong and golden, others frayed or entirely lost. Between each surviving fragment lies a vast emptiness, a space where stories might have existed but vanished, leaving only hints, shadows, and whispers. Consider the Antikythera mechanism, the precise gears of a machine that seems centuries ahead of its time. Or the megalithic stones of Göbekli Tepe, carved by hands whose names are forever lost to us. Think of the Nazca lines, invisible from the ground, designed to be perceived only from a vantage point few could achieve. Across continents and oceans, humans have left traces of ingenuity, devotion, and imagination, but rarely the full story. Time has a way of erasing the context, leaving us to wonder at the meaning behind the mystery. Each artifact is a fragile thread connecting us to a human mind long vanished. With every passing century, these threads grow thinner, frayed by war, conquest, and natural decay. Libraries burn, cities sink beneath rising seas, and oral traditions fade into silence. What survives is often fragmentary, a carved stone, a rusted tool, a pattern in the sand. Yet even these fragments carry weight, offering glimpses of entire civilizations, of worldviews and rituals that shaped the lives of countless people. It is striking how much of what we consider history relies on chance. Had the shipwreck at Antikythera been destroyed in the storm that sank it, we might never have known of the mechanism. Had the deserts of Peru been covered with soil and vegetation, the Nazca lines would have remained invisible, their messages buried. Had the jungles of Costa Rica been fully cleared or altered, the stone spheres might have been shattered and scattered beyond recognition. History, in this sense, is not merely written by the victors. It is preserved by accident, by circumstance, by the delicate survival of fragile objects across millennia. This fragility lends a haunting quality to the study of the past. Each discovery, no matter how small, can unravel our understanding of entire epochs. One object, one inscription, one footprint can force historians to rethink timelines, question assumptions, and reconsider what it means to be human. The very act of uncovering history is an act of negotiation with absence, interpreting what remains while acknowledging what has been lost. Yet, there's a strange beauty in this precariousness. The fact that threads of history survive at all, against the relentless tide of time, speaks to the resilience of human expression. Across oceans, deserts, and mountains, we see patterns of care, devotion, and intentionality. We see people leaving traces of themselves in hopes that someone, someday, might perceive their presence. These threads, though fragile, connect us across centuries, linking the unknown hands of the past to our own in the present moment. The human story is full of interruptions, gaps, and silences. We will never know all of it, and perhaps that is part of its power. In the gaps between what we know and what has vanished lies the space for imagination, for wonder, for speculation, for poetic reflection. These spaces are where history becomes alive, where curiosity takes root, and where mystery transforms into meditation. Some artifacts seem almost to reach across these voids intentionally, as if calling out to the future. The Yanaguni Monument, half hidden beneath the waves, waits patiently to be discovered, its lines and terraces raising questions that resist final answers. The Nazca lines spread across the desert floor, their purpose invisible from the vantage point of everyday life. The stone spheres of Costa Rica lie scattered in the jungle, their meaning deliberately concealed within the perfection of their form. Each object seems to say, "We existed, we thought, we created, and we hope you will notice." The fragility of history also reminds us of the responsibility we carry as inheritors of the past. Modern development, climate change, and neglect threaten the survival of countless relics. Each artifact that disappears diminishes the threads that bind us to human experience across time. Preserving the past is not simply an academic endeavor. It is an act of empathy, of recognition, of listening to voices that can no longer speak. Yet history is not only defined by the objects that survive, but also by the stories we weave around them. Every interpretation, every theory, every attempt to reconstruct the past is itself a thread, one that must be handled carefully, lest it snap under the weight of assumption or prejudice. Archaeology and anthropology are sciences of both evidence and imagination, requiring balance between skepticism and wonder, between fact and possibility. In this way, the fragile threads of history are not only the remnants left behind, but also the narratives we construct to bridge the gaps between them. Consider the unknown ancestors revealed through DNA, ghost lineages that hint at entire populations vanished without a trace. They leave no monuments, no carvings, no inscriptions, only subtle molecular whispers in the cells of modern humans. These strands of evidence remind us that even the most silent and invisible parts of our story are connected to the present, part of a tapestry far larger than we can fully comprehend. The fragility of history encourages humility. It teaches that certainty is rare, that knowledge is provisional, and that every answer opens new questions. The past is never fully captured. It is always a moving landscape, shifting under the weight of new discoveries. One day, a single find may transform our understanding of human civilization, reshaping timelines and revealing that what we believed to be impossible was, in fact, once real. At the same time, this fragility invites meditation. Just as a single thread can unravel a tapestry, a single thread can also illuminate its entire design. The study of history, in its quiet moments, is like walking through a gallery where most of the paintings have faded, leaving only fragments of color and form. In those fragments, we glimpse patterns, imagine narratives, and feel the pulse of lives long gone. The emptiness itself becomes meaningful, a space for reflection and wonder. As the documentary's narrative drifts through the echoes of lost knowledge, the listener is invited to dwell in that in-between space, between what we know and what we will never know. It is a space of gentle curiosity, of poetic meditation, where the mind can wander freely through time. The artifacts themselves are silent, but the stories they inspire are alive, woven from the threads of human imagination, memory, and desire. Ultimately, the fragile threads of history teach us that we are part of a continuum, one that stretches backward through countless generations, across civilizations risen and fallen, across mysteries solved and mysteries that remain. Every discovery is a reminder that our understanding is partial, provisional, and precious. We carry forward what has survived, mindful of what has been lost, always aware that the tapestry of humanity is more intricate and delicate than we can ever fully grasp. And as we move from one discovery to another, from monument to line, from sphere to DNA, the fragile threads of history guide us, not toward certainty, but toward reverence. They remind us that the past is alive in the present, that mystery and wonder are inseparable from knowledge, and that every stone, every line, every whisper of what once was is a gift, waiting for us to listen. In this gentle awareness, the mind slows, the heart opens, the tapestry of time unfurls in quiet meditation. And in that space, the listener drifts, carried across centuries, connected to the unknown and the unknowable, ready to move on to the next discovery, the next revelation, the next glimpse of human history hidden just beneath the surface. Deep within the cells of every human being lies a story that stretches far beyond memory, beyond written records, and even beyond what archaeology can reveal. It is a story written in code, in sequences of molecules that have survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and migrations across continents. Ancient DNA has become one of the most profound tools for understanding our past, not just as a record of who lived where and when, but as a whisper of lives, communities, and species that vanished without leaving monuments or inscriptions. Here, in these genetic threads, lie the shadows of unknown ancestors, populations that contributed to our very being, yet remain largely invisible to history. The field of paleogenetics has transformed our understanding of human history in ways that few could have imagined. By extracting and sequencing DNA from bones, teeth, and even sediments, scientists can now detect the presence of populations that no longer exist. These discoveries reveal that our family tree is far more tangled than textbooks have long suggested. Homo sapiens, it seems, never evolved in isolation. We mingled, interbred, and shared landscapes with other hominins whose names we may never know. The echoes of these encounters persist within us, in sequences that shape who we are, how we think, and how we experience the world. Some of the most astonishing revelations come from ghost populations, groups that left no skeletal remains or artifacts, but whose existence is inferred from genetic traces in modern humans. For example, scientists studying the DNA of indigenous populations in Asia and the Americas have found fragments of ancestry that do not match any known hominin species. These lineages predate the arrival of Homo sapiens in these regions, suggesting that we encountered other hominins, perhaps cousins of the Denisovans, perhaps groups now entirely lost, whose lives and cultures are erased from the fossil record. The idea that we carry within us the legacy of unknown ancestors is both humbling and disorienting. We are, in a sense, walking archives of vanished worlds. Each cell contains echoes of survival, adaptation, and connection. When scientists reconstruct ancient genomes, they are, in effect, listening to voices that have been silent for tens of thousands of years. These voices speak not in words, but in sequences and patterns, hinting at migrations, diets, diseases, and even social structures. They remind us that history is not only the record of monuments and artifacts, but also the quiet continuity of life itself. One of the most compelling discoveries in recent years involves the Denisovans, a group of archaic humans identified from a finger bone and a few teeth in Siberia. For decades, these fossils sat largely unnoticed, their significance obscure by their scarcity. But when scientists sequenced their DNA, they realized that Denisovans had interbred with modern humans in multiple regions of Asia. Today, traces of Denisovan DNA can be found in populations from Papua New Guinea to the Philippines. Some of these genetic fragments influence immune response, high-altitude adaptation, and even aspects of brain function. In other words, the Denisovans are not gone. They live on, invisibly shaping our biology and, in subtle ways, our experience of the world. Even more enigmatic are genetic signals that point to populations we have not yet identified in the fossil record. In Africa, researchers have discovered fragments of DNA in modern populations that belong to hominins entirely unknown to science. These ghost lineages likely represent species or subspecies that lived tens of thousands of years ago, coexisting with early Homo sapiens and leaving their mark only in the genes of those who survived. It is as if entire civilizations have vanished without leaving a single footprint, yet they whisper to us from within our own cells. The implications of these findings are profound. They suggest that the story of humanity is not a simple, linear progression from primitive to advanced. Instead, it is a tapestry of encounters, migrations, and exchanges where species rose and fell, met and mixed, and disappeared into shadows. The clean timelines that once dominated textbooks, this group appeared here, that group disappeared there, are being replaced by a more fluid, more complex narrative. Our ancestors were not solitary wanderers, but participants in a vast web of life, constantly interacting with other forms of humanity. This perspective reshapes not only science, but philosophy and poetry. To know that our bodies carry the traces of vanished lineages is to acknowledge that the human story is greater than any single civilization or culture. The monuments we admire, the artifacts we cherish, are only one layer of history. Beneath them lies a substratum of life, adaptation, and memory that refuses to be erased. The strands of DNA link us to people we will never meet, to places we will never see, and to stories that will never be written. Yet they are as real and present as the beat of our hearts. Consider the psychological resonance of this realization. Every human being is, in essence, a mosaic of countless lives that have intersected over millennia. We inherit not just genetic material, but fragments of survival strategies, resilience, and adaptation honed over tens of thousands of years. Some of these fragments have practical consequences: resistance to pathogens, tolerance to environmental extremes, or subtle physiological advantages. Others may be more abstract, shaping cognitive tendencies, instincts, or even patterns of social behavior. In a sense, we are living archives of an invisible past, carrying forward knowledge and memory that has no written form but is encoded within our very cells. Ancient DNA also provides a mirror to our fragility and impermanence. The populations we see traces of today may be mere remnants of once thriving species. Many of our ancestors disappeared not through violence, but through the quiet, relentless forces of climate change, disease, or displacement. Entire hominin lineages vanished, leaving no monuments, no art, no testament to their existence. And yet, through genetic echoes, they persist. This paradox, absence and presence intertwined, reinforces the delicate threads of history we explored earlier, now visible at the level of life itself. Some discoveries hint at encounters that are more intimate than previously imagined. Evidence suggests that interbreeding between Homo sapiens and other hominins was not rare or accidental. It happened multiple times, across vast regions and thousands of years. In this light, humanity is less a single species moving in isolation and more a collective of interconnected beings, linked by encounters, exchanges, and even shared struggles. We are, in every cell, a record of collaboration, conflict, and survival among multiple forms of life. The study of ancient DNA also challenges our notions of identity. Populations once thought to be homogeneous are revealed to be mixtures of diverse lineages. The boundaries between groups blur. The purity of a culture or species is revealed as a myth. We are all composites, mosaics, and hybrids. This insight resonates far beyond genetics, prompting reflection on the nature of human society, the concept of heritage, and the way we define ourselves. In the shadows of unknown ancestors, we find both humility and connection, a recognition that we are not as isolated or as modern as we might like to believe. In a poetic sense, these discoveries feel almost like conversations across time. A fragment of DNA preserved in a tooth becomes a voice speaking to the present, telling a story no historian could reconstruct. It whispers of lost ecosystems, vanished tribes, and journeys across continents. It reminds us that human history is not solely the record of kings, empires, or written texts. It is also the story of ordinary beings, of hunters, gatherers, mothers, children, and travelers, whose lives have left traces that endure in the most intimate and hidden ways. The shadows of unknown ancestors also highlight the limitations of our knowledge. Archaeology, anthropology, and history often rely on visible evidence, tools, bones, dwellings, and art. But DNA reveals a layer of reality that is invisible to the naked eye. For every ancient city we excavate, there may have been countless settlements that left no trace. For every artifact we analyze, there may have been technologies or rituals that vanished without record. The genome becomes a second archive, one that can survive fires, floods, and the decay of stone, carrying within it the quiet pulse of life itself. When contemplating these findings, one is struck by the delicate balance of survival and extinction. Some lineages contributed to our species, merging into the genetic pool. Others disappeared entirely, leaving only whispers in isolated populations. Their disappearance was not always dramatic. It was often quiet, a subtle absorption or replacement over generations. Yet even in absence, they persist, influencing our physiology, our adaptation, and perhaps even the choices we make unconsciously. In this sense, ancient DNA serves as both evidence and meditation. It reminds us of the continuity of life, the impermanence of individual existence, and the persistence of influence. We are bound to the past in ways that extend far beyond memory, beyond culture, beyond narrative. Every human body is a living archive, every cell a repository of knowledge, every heartbeat a resonance of ancestors whose faces we will never see. These discoveries also invite philosophical reflection on the nature of history and mystery. If so much of our lineage is invisible, if so many ancestors have left no trace except in genetic whispers, then the human story is far larger and stranger than we can imagine. The familiar milestones of civilization, cities, empires, art, and literature are only the surface of a deeper, more intricate narrative. Beneath them lies a web of connections, encounters, and lives that shaped us in unseen ways. And yet, there is beauty in this incompleteness. The shadows of unknown ancestors allow the imagination to wander. They provide space for reflection on what it means to belong to the human family. In contemplating these lost lineages, we may also contemplate our own place in the vast flow of life. We recognize that we are not isolated points, but threads woven into a tapestry that stretches back tens of thousands of years across continents and species, carrying the echoes of those who walked the earth long before us. In quiet meditation, one can almost hear these ancestors speaking, not with words, but with the rhythms of life encoded in our very being. They tell us of survival and adaptation, of journeys undertaken and choices made, of existence itself. And in listening, we participate in a dialogue that bridges millennia, connecting the present to the deep, shadowed past in ways that are both intimate and infinite. As the narrative softens, the listener is invited to dwell in this reflection, to imagine the unknown ancestors whose DNA courses through our veins, to sense the vast web of life from which we emerge, and to feel the quiet awe of being part of a story that is simultaneously visible and invisible, known and unknowable. In these shadows, humanity is both ancient and eternal. The past does not disappear. It survives in code, in life, and in memory, waiting to be heard by those patient enough to listen. And in that listening, we glimpse not only who we were, but the deep mystery of what it means to be human, a being forged from countless lives, many forgotten, some remembered, all echoing softly within us still. As we move through the corridors of human history, tracing the echoes of civilizations, monuments, and mysteries, a remarkable realization emerges. Much of what we know is only a fraction of what once was. Every discovery, from the Yonaguni terraces sleeping beneath the sea to the stone spheres of Costa Rica, represents both revelation and reminder that for every artifact on Earth, countless others lie hidden, erased by time, weather, or circumstance. Our understanding of the past is a mosaic made from shards, each piece offering clarity, yet simultaneously hinting at vast unknowns that stretch beyond our sight. History, when viewed in this way, becomes less a fixed narrative and more a meditation. The line between fact and mystery blurs, inviting us to dwell in the space between knowing and imagining. In the soft shadows of the desert at Nazca, or in the silent depths of the East China Sea, we perceive human ambition, devotion, and creativity reaching across millennia. Each structure, each geoglyph, each carefully sculpted stone speaks to a desire that transcends survival, a yearning to leave something behind, to communicate across the ages, to assert a presence that time cannot entirely erase. The stories of these ancient wonders invite contemplation on our own place within the continuum of history. The more we uncover, the more we recognize the fragility and resilience of human memory. Civilizations rise and fall. Artifacts survive and vanish. Names are forgotten, yet influence endures in subtle, often invisible ways. Even in our own lives, we become participants in this intricate web, shaping and being shaped by the legacies we inherit, the knowledge we preserve, and the mysteries we leave behind for future generations. There's also a profound humility in acknowledging the unknown. Every unanswered question, every unsolved mystery, reminds us that human understanding is partial, provisional, and fleeting. The stone spheres, the Nazca lines, the underwater terraces of Yonaguni. They challenge our assumptions about progress, sophistication, and the capabilities of our ancestors. They suggest that the story of humanity is far richer, stranger, and more intricate than any textbook can convey. To confront these mysteries is to confront our own limits, to recognize that wonder and curiosity remain essential companions in the pursuit of knowledge. Yet, it is precisely this humility that invites a deeper connection to the past. By embracing mystery, we allow history to speak not only through evidence and documentation, but through imagination, reflection, and empathy. We begin to perceive the lives of those who came before us not merely as distant subjects of study, but as fellow humans whose hopes, fears, and creativity resonate across time. The calm, deliberate beauty of their creations, whether geometric perfection or monumental scale, becomes a bridge linking us to their world. In reflecting upon these ancient discoveries, we are reminded of the duality of human existence, the tension between permanence and impermanence, between the desire to be remembered and the inevitability of fading. Monuments may crumble, writings may vanish, civilizations may fall, yet the essence of human curiosity endures. It manifests not only in what survives, but in the questions it inspires, the stories we reconstruct, and the awe we feel when standing before evidence of ingenuity long past. Ultimately, the journey through these hidden histories is a meditation on time itself. It invites us to move slowly, to listen attentively, and to appreciate both the known and the unknowable. In the silence of a desert plateau, beneath the waves of the ocean, or in the quiet presence of a stone sphere, we sense that human history is not merely a record of events, but a living dialogue between past and present, between certainty and wonder, between ourselves and the long line of beings who preceded us. As night falls and the world around us drifts into quiet reflection, these ancient discoveries linger in the mind, their significance extending beyond the factual into the poetic. They remind us that history is alive, not only in the artifacts and monuments that survive, but in the act of contemplation itself. And in that contemplation, we find a gentle, enduring connection, a bridge to the past, a meditation on the fleeting and the eternal, and an invitation to remain curious, patient, and attentive to the mysteries still waiting beneath the sands, the stones, and the sea. In this calm space of reflection, the listener is left with a sense of continuity and wonder, a feeling that history is not merely a collection of facts, but a living, breathing tapestry in which we are all threads, connected to those who came before and to those yet to arrive. The edge of discovery is never final. It is a threshold that invites us to look closer, to imagine, and to honor the fragile yet persistent presence of human ingenuity across the ages. As our journey through the hidden corners of history comes to its close, one theme emerges more vividly than any other: the persistence of human curiosity. Across deserts, jungles, oceans, and mountains, across thousands of years, a single impulse has driven countless generations: the desire to understand, to create, to leave a mark on the world that outlasts a single lifetime. From the geometric precision of the stone spheres of Costa Rica to the enigmatic Nazca lines, from the submerged terraces of Yonaguni to the genetic whispers of unknown ancestors, this impulse binds us together across time, transcending geography, language, and culture. Curiosity is the thread that links the known with the unknown. It is the force that compels a person to carve into rock, to chart the heavens, to explore the depths of the sea, or to sequence ancient DNA from a fragment of bone. It is both practical and poetic, born of necessity and wonder, survival and devotion. And it is this duality that gives history its enduring fascination. Every artifact, every geoglyph, every DNA sequence carries a trace of human imagination, a testament to our relentless desire to reach beyond ourselves and touch something greater than the immediate and visible world. These discoveries remind us that history is never static. The more we uncover, the more we realize how vast and layered our past truly is. The stone spheres, once lying unnoticed in the jungle, speak to sophisticated knowledge and symbolic thought that challenges assumptions about pre-Columbian societies. The Nazca lines sprawling across the Peruvian desert suggest rituals, astronomical understanding, or communication so vast in scale that it requires us to expand our concept of what is possible. Even submerged sites like Yonaguni demonstrate that our ancestors experimented with monumental design, engineering, and spatial awareness far earlier than we imagined. Each new finding reshapes our understanding of human achievement, revealing layers of ingenuity previously unrecognized. Yet, alongside achievement lies mystery. Even with advanced technology, DNA sequencing, and careful archaeological study, many questions remain unanswered. The creators of the Nazca lines left no written record. The purpose of the Costa Rican spheres is still debated. Ghost lineages of ancient humans whisper of populations we may never fully identify. And the underwater terraces, still partially unexplored, hint at civilizations whose lives are only faintly traced in the sediments of the deep. These mysteries remind us that history is not a static archive, but a living dialogue between past and present, a conversation we continue even in the absence of definitive answers. There is a profound human lesson embedded in this. The past, with all its enigmas, teaches patience, humility, and reverence. It reminds us that knowledge is rarely absolute, that every artifact, every site, every genome offers both insight and unanswered questions. The silence of the desert, the stillness of the jungle, the depth of the ocean. These are spaces where history speaks softly, inviting careful attention and quiet reflection. To listen is to connect with the lives and intentions of those who came before, to feel the rhythms of thought, labor, and devotion that shaped civilizations long vanished. In a broader sense, these echoes of human curiosity bridge the temporal gap between us and the ancients. When we stand before a perfectly round stone sphere, when we trace the lines of a desert geoglyph, or when we hold in our minds the image of a submerged terrace, we are participating in a continuum of thought and creation. We are linked to generations who imagined, experimented, and shaped the world, and in that connection, we experience a quiet transcendence, a reminder that creativity, curiosity, and wonder are timeless. Moreover, these discoveries encourage reflection on the fragility and resilience of human culture. Empires crumble, monuments decay, and knowledge can be lost, yet the drive to explore, create, and understand persists. This resilience is encoded not only in the artifacts themselves, but in the active inquiry they inspire in the present day. Modern archaeologists, geneticists, and explorers are part of the same continuum, driven by the same impulses that guided the hands of long-gone ancestors. Each discovery rekindles the flame of curiosity, reminding us that knowledge is built slowly, carefully, and collectively across generations. The poetic resonance of these discoveries is especially fitting for reflection at night, when the mind drifts between wakefulness and dream. In these quiet moments, the mysteries of the past feel immediate, alive, and intimate. The Nazca lines become more than desert carvings. They are prayers, songs, or cosmic messages waiting to be felt rather than fully understood. The stone spheres are no longer inert rocks, but meditations on balance and form, inviting the mind to contemplate perfection, patience, and purpose. Even the whispers of ancient DNA carry a sense of intimacy, as though the past itself is breathing through us. Ultimately, the true gift of these discoveries is not merely knowledge, but perspective. They teach us that human history is vast, intricate, and endlessly surprising, that civilizations rise and fall, leaving traces that invite wonder. That mystery is not a void, but a space for imagination and connection, and that our own lives, brief and fleeting, are part of a chain that stretches far beyond our comprehension, linking us to countless generations who gazed at the same stars, walked the same earth, and carried the same impulse to understand, create, and endure. As the documentary draws to a close, the listener is left with a gentle sense of continuity and awe. Time stretches backward, encompassing deserts, oceans, jungles, and mountains. Across this expanse, human hands and minds have shaped, carved, and dreamed. Every discovery, every mystery, every shadow of the past reverberates into the present, inviting us to pause, to reflect, and to wonder. The world we inhabit today is inseparable from the ingenuity, curiosity, and resilience of those who came before us. And so, the echoes of human curiosity continue to resonate, eternal and quiet, like a soft murmur beneath the layers of history. They remind us that exploration and wonder are timeless, that even in silence there is meaning, and that the pulse of discovery beats on, connecting all who have lived with all who will come. In listening to these echoes, we are not merely observing history. We are participating in it, carrying forward the questions, the dreams, and the awe that have defined humanity from the beginning. The past, it seems, is never truly gone. It waits patiently in stone, sand, and DNA, ready to speak to those who are willing to look, to feel, and to wonder. And in that quiet, enduring conversation, we find not only knowledge, but connection, meditation, and the infinite echo of human curiosity that transcends time itself.